Hang on, guys. I'm still trying to get myself together today. Alright, so, pardon me, I have decided to bake the Serenity again, so she's going to definitely be ready to be sent out for hair. I'm expecting some more of my rooted babies to come back. I have some silicones that are still in Florida that are getting rooted. I'm hoping to have 2 of those back in just a couple of days or so, and then I'll be shipping out at least these 2 heads, and then I think I'm going to go ahead and ship out the Camden and Corbin twins set 1 that are pictured on my Facebook page. They have their own album. So I think that's probably what I'm going to be doing. So now I just have to figure out what exactly I'm going to do with pretty little Liam. So during the baking process, she has baked up really, really nicely. Probably can't see because I'm not too sure that this camera is the greatest thing. I keep looking back on these videos and there's so much glare, and I've done as much as I can do with the lighting in here to still be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm not sure how I'm going to work with that, but we'll figure something out. So I'm thinking I probably want to do a little green wash. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I want to take out just a little bit of this this darker color. I want to balance it a little bit. But first I'm going to look at it and see how it's going to react to the vinyl. I always keep these washes pre-made so that when I'm ready to do a wash, all I have to do is do the wash. I do want to get out the blue wash from my trusty wash brush, so I don't want to take a chance on any of that color seeping in. So let me just look here. You can hear my cookie underneath my table. He likes to accompany me to paint babies. It just kind of lays under my feet and it's just kind of always there. That's the best thing about dogs. They're just there. No matter what, they're there. Alright, so I have no idea if you can see this or not, but this is what the wash has done so far. Now there are going to be changes once this starts to flash. Once the thinner starts to flash, you're going to see some changes. For now I'm just going to get off the extra because I really don't want this green turning chalky. I just want the wash effect, and I think I have made the wash thin enough that it probably won't become chalky, but I just want to kind of make sure. Alright, so I'm going to let her start to flash her head, and then I'm going to move on to the other parts. I usually start out with the lower limb. Don't know why. Guess there's not really a reason, it's just kind of a personal thing. When you've done dolls for as many years as I have, you just kind of have your own rhythm. And again, I'm just going to apply it And then I'm just going to calm it down a little bit. Not that it's doing that much, because you know, you're not really going to see a whole lot of change with this immediately. It's just going to be subtle. And then just like yesterday, I'm going to keep checking back to make sure that if there are puddles forming, if there are little drips forming as they hang on the rack, then I'm just absorbing them off. Now this would be the layer where if I thought she needed an additional flesh color over the top, if she was way too red, which she's not, but if she were and I wanted to calm down some of that, then I would wait until this last modeling layer and I would add on a very thin layer of little speckled light flesh color. In this case I don't have to. I tried to not have to do that, because that is an additional step, and not only that, but when you have to do that you run the risk of getting the chalky look, because in order to get the paint thick enough to make the little spots, it can, those flesh colors, the lighter flesh colors, can oftentimes turn a little chalky as they're flashing. So I'm very glad that I don't have to do that with her. Again, just going to be pulling out the extra paint. And then when I hang the next limb up, just going to go back over and check for drips on the other pieces. And when there are some, then I just pull them out with a dry or semi-dry sponge. I'm going to try to experiment a little bit with a darker towel as my base here later on, but I really haven't had a chance to do that just yet. I have just finished updating my store on Etsy, Little Blessings LLD, and there are 32 kits that I have placed on sale for customs just today, and that sale will run through Monday. First thing Monday morning it's going to end. So, and it's a 15% off sale, so that's pretty exciting. I went through and I chose the kits in my store that people had visited and favorited the most, because I'm trying to give some of the people who wouldn't ordinarily have a chance or an opportunity to get a custom baby made, I want to give some of you guys the opportunity to get one. If you hear those deep sighs coming from under my table, that's my cookie. He is relaxing and having a good time. All I have to say in the mornings is, let's go paint babies, and he's all about it. He meets me at the door back here. So I'm fairly confident that these are not going to need to flash all the way before I bake them. I think they're going to be just fine. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking off any kind of extra little drippage that I've got going on from the mint green wash that I just did. And then I'm just going to let her bake on level 6 for 8 minutes in my New Wave oven. I do recommend the New Wave oven because for kind of OCD people like me, I had a real hard time using the same oven to bake my brownies as I used to bake the plastic. And most of the kits that we get these days are not harmful as they used to be. They're phthalate free, which is a great thing. But just for, you know, the ease of not having to put all the parts on a baking sheet, and I just have the oven right here in my little workshop, it doesn't require that much extra of me. So that's pretty exciting. So this is my Serenity now. She's nice and toasty warm. She's going to be getting her auburn hair, so what I will do is later today I'm going to go ahead and package her head to ship. I'm probably going to take a couple of pictures of her first though. I'm going to stage her. So basically when I stage babies, when they're right in between getting their paints done and then moving on to get their hair, I will assemble the body and attach the legs and the arms, but then I will leave the head free. And then I will just kind of stage them in some of my photography props to make them look like they're an assembled baby. That way I don't have to waste the plastic ties that we use to secure the head on. I won't have to use an extra one of them. And plus, not having the head anchored to the body at that point allows me to do a couple of really much more flexible poses. My babies are pretty flexible anyway, but you know, you can't get more flexible than not having the head attached. I can really get some nice little angles with them. So that's the plan for her later today. She's already had her nail tips done, so she's all ready to go. She's got her little fingernails and her toenails all done. And then when she comes back from Florida, when her head comes back from Florida, then what I will do is I will look at her again with the hair and see if I need to do anything with her eyebrows. Probably she's going to need to have a couple of little highlight strands put in on each eyebrow, which will create a more three-dimensional look to her eyebrows. I think everything else is going to be just perfect though, and I hope that her new mom's going to love her. She does have a tummy plate. The Serenities came out with a tummy plate, so here it is. It's not a full, but it's a nice size. And this helps for getting those really adorable little poses too when they have the tummy plates. I love working with full vinyl babies as well, but the only thing with the full vinyl babies is because there's a body, a cloth body that goes inside the torso, the limbs have less mobility and they're not as squishy. So I really love the cloth bodied babies for cuddling and for posability, but I like the torsos because it adds that dimension of realism, that so you can get the pictures of the belly. This doing the tummy plate is kind of a good go-between because you have your baby that's really soft and cuddly, and then you can also get a lot of the poses with the tummy plate and it'll look very real. Photographing these dolls has been another struggle because it's really hard to make a plastic doll look like a real living baby. It really is. And I had to start studying some newborn photography, so I have lots of beautiful newborn photography that's up in my workshop. And I just kind of look at those pictures, I look at the position of the baby, and then I think, can I get this doll into that position? And what is the angle that this photograph was taken at? And so there's a lot of kind of things that you have to think about as you are going through. I do think that, you know, as in any artistry, you definitely grow and you definitely evolve the more new things that you try. And as I've been working at home for a little while, I've had more of an opportunity to kind of get myself together, and part of my therapy is, you know, working on these babies. It really is. This is a place for me that is very safe and nurturing, and it's quiet time, and I have my dog, and you know, it's just, it's something that I really appreciate and I really value quite a bit. So I'm not going to bore you guys with any more conversation for a while. If you just want to hang out and watch, that would be cool. If you find this very boring, you don't have to hang out and watch. I'll totally understand if you tune me out. Going to be getting this Harlow kit ready to go. I haven't started her yet. My husband made me these neat hangers from clothes hangers, and so with this I just kind of pulled these together and then inserted into the limbs, and then I can hang them on the racks, on the big racks, and they won't fall. And then he made me some of these straight flat ones from clothes hangers as well, and so they go right over like the closet bar. That way I can have some on the racks, I can have some on the big bar, and it allows me to work on a lot more things at once, because as you see, as I'm baking and I'm done with Serenity, then what am I going to do for the rest of this time? Well, I'm going to figure out what is next. I have another of the Andy Asleeps that's coming up. She's going to be getting started probably later on today. I like the color of this kit, because when you start out with a kind of a light peachy color, you can get a lot faster with the skin layers, because when it's like a really weird color or a really pale color, it's harder to get going, because you have to put so many layers on before you see anything. Won't be any changes. They'll be so subtle, because of course you can't pack the paint on, because then it's just going to dry and it's going to clump and it's going to look like crap. And that's my lovely girl. So I have all these paint towels, and usually what I do when I'm going to package a baby is I'm just going to wrap her parts in this towels, plural. And then when I'm ready to do the staging and the photography, then I will have all of her things together. This keeps dust off. I always have a ton of towels available back here because I use them as drop cloths and brush cleaning area, and so they're stained all to Neptune. But they work well for what I need them to do. Alright. So I'm not quite ready to get started on the 2 blank kits just yet. So I'm going to need to give a little bit of time for this baby to cool down a little bit. And then when I do get started on her again, I'm going to be working on the toes and the fingers mostly. And then possibly, I haven't decided whether I'm going to do a whole lot more with her eyelids or not. I'm fairly happy with where she is now. I probably will possibly darken up her lips a little bit and maybe give it a second trace around the wrinkles. We'll see how it is once I get started. Probably going to use, because I don't want her to get purpley, so I'm probably going to use that micro vein red for the fingers and the toes to kind of bring them back up to where I want them to be. And Cookie just abandoned me, so he's like, well, it was fun, but you know, I don't want to sit in the closet with you all day, Mom. I don't know if any of you guys out there have PTSD or anxiety. If you do, and you don't have a dog yet, you should get a dog. I cannot even tell you what a difference having him has made. I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't 100% fix anything, but as far as happiness and a feeling of peace, I definitely have more of that since I have him. Before him, everything was a struggle. Everything. And I did really well with him for probably about a year and a little bit. Did really well with him. But then things in my work life got very, very stressful. And my functional capabilities dwindled. And I basically hit a huge wall. I woke up one day and I just couldn't go. I just couldn't do anything. It was physical, it was mental, it was emotional, it was everything. And it took probably a good solid 6 weeks before I could even do the things that I was doing before at home. And there are still, and this has been a couple of months now, and there are still days, believe me, that I can't really accomplish much. That's why I spend so much time back here doing this, because this is something that I can do. And that's why I opened this live stream for any of you bored folks or interested folks. Because I don't want it to be like I'm just dropping off the planet, you know. Sometimes when I'm waiting, I like to clean up paintbrushes, so that's all the clattering you're hearing. I'm just rinsing my brushes. Particularly when I'm getting ready to either detail something different or I'm starting a whole new sculpt. I like to have freshly cleaned brushes. And I used to haul them all out to the kitchen and wash them in the kitchen sink. I don't do that anymore because it just takes longer. And since I'm painting every day, it just kind of makes more sense to clean them out while I'm here. Sometimes I take, wherever it is, my alcohol. I like to use salon alcohol. I'm a massage therapist at heart, and I just love aromatherapy items. So I get the cherry almond from Sally's, the salon alcohol. And every now and again, for this little guy, I will spray that down, and then I'll just kind of press him out. Trying to get all that extra paint out. And I do this kind of when I have time. And since I'm cooling, I'm chilling out as I'm cooling, it'd be a good time to do it. And I might do this 2 or 3 times, just kind of soak the surface area. And then stick it on the paper towel, and then just mash it really hard. So I'm trying to soak out all the junk, all the paint. Be surprised how much paint stays in these things. I don't know if you can see that, but that's after cleaning it twice. Need to go to Hobby Lobby to get another one of these. In case you're wondering, if you're an artist, what this is. This came on a stick, and the stick was glued up in this little hole. Of course, after washing it so many times, the stick came loose. The glue was not made to hold through much of my abuse, I suppose, but the sponge is still fantastic, so I just threw away the stick and now I just use the sponge by itself. There are 2 different sizes. There's this one, and then there's one that's really little that barely fits over your finger. Occasionally I'll use that one, but this one's the one that I really like to use because you get such a nice pattern. Pardon me, I'm having an allergy issue today. Okay, so it looks like she's cool enough for me to work on now. And I forgot to put my plastic wrap over my paint, so it's not dry, but it's definitely evaporated some. So I'm just going to add a little bit more thinner in there. And I'm going to mix the whole bowl again. This is going to be really light, so I might have to do the fingers and the toes a couple of times with this to get it where I want it, but we'll see. I don't really want to add any more paint to this bowl because I'm probably not going to use this color again for a little while because I'm starting 2 whole new sculpts. And this is a as needed color, and it works best on the lighter colored vinyls, and also when you built up the color maybe yourself to the darker. Looks like I have gotten a little overzealous, so come on, Cookie. So I am going to have to add just a little bit more of the paint. Hi, Cook. Hi, Cook. You come to help me. Okay. I guess he's back from break. And this is where I'll take a little bit of time just to kind of put a little bit of pink over the areas that are just those little stripes. Just between the fingers, they just don't want to color. And that's probably just me. So I really like to put a little darker line right where the two eyelids meet, because when you're rooting the eyelashes, and on sleeping babies we always root the eyelashes, and when you root them, that's going to naturally make the eyelid a little paler, because where you're putting the needle in and then you're pulling it out, it just kind of changes it. So I always make it a little extra dark over the eyelid, so that when we put the eyelashes in, you just get a really natural colored look. And throughout the entire process, I am working on deepening the nostril color, because I don't want it to get that weird thing happening when the paint doesn't stick all the way, and then you get like the little chunks. It's not smooth. I like for it to be completely smooth. So I do, every time almost that I'm doing a layer, I'll do a layer of that up in the nostrils. Just kind of keeps it going. Keeps building up smooth layers. And then put just a layer lip color on. I put tons of different colors on the lips as well, just layer after layer, until I get them to where I feel like they're where I want them to be. Always pull it back out with the dry brush. That way you get a little bit of a change, but you don't get like ruby red lipstick color. So I don't want her to look like she's got lipstick on. I just want her to have rosy little lips. And I'm probably going to just darken these little inner ears a bit. I don't want it to look inflamed. I just want it to look deeper. And then just going to pull out any extra, blend down anything extra that happened there. Now, I still feel like this area is just a little too pale. So I'm just going to add very little color there, because I'm trying to bring it to less of a white and more of a natural skin color. Now some babies are very white and bluish there, and I think that looks great too, but every baby is different, and I feel like for this particular baby I wanted her to have a little more pink there and a little less white. So I just lined her lips a little bit. I'm going to wait a couple of seconds and let it flash just a tad. And then I'm just going to kind of tamp it down a little bit. So you can see that she still does have a line there, but it's not stark contrast. It's just a nice natural deviation in color. And I'm just going to be adding a little bit of depth to these wrinkles, these little neck rolls. Kind of looks like maybe she fell asleep with her head off to that side. You know, babies get those little sleep wrinkles when they lay a certain way for a while. And again, I'm just taking it down to a more calm level where it looks more natural. I don't want it to look like I've baked her, which I have baked her, but I don't want her to look fried. So I think that her feet look pretty good now, but I still want to accentuate these little wrinkles, her little feet creases. And I'll show you the effect once I get it finished up here. I'm basically just tracing along all of these little creases in the bottom of her feet. So when you get the creases all defined, what you end up with is an effect that makes the foot look very squishy. Very, very squishy foot. And not all of the wrinkles in the feet are going to be the same shade. Some of them are darker. Some of them just a little bit lighter. I love the sculpts where there's been a lot of extra effort put into these little details, because it makes it easier for the artist to render a very detailed baby when you have all these little natural deviations and changes in the sculpt to work with. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to do the same thing on her other little foot. And for this I've left some pretty thick paint up at the top, and you notice I'm not swishing anymore. That's because I'm using that really thick paint at the top, and I'm flattening it out on the edge of this brush so that I can just move over the wrinkles with the thicker paint. And since I'm pushing it down into depressions in the sculpt, I want it to be a bit thicker. Not thick enough to clump, but just thick enough to cover. And you'll figure this out as you go, and it'll become kind of second nature. This is the effect on this little foot. And then I'm going to start on the hand creases. I'm going to do the same exact thing. Just going to line her little palm creases. over the prototype dolls because they are so magnificent. But as an artist, you know, when you want to create something similar, then you have to kind of take that image and you have to pick it apart. You have to say, okay, this looks extremely lifelike. What about it is extremely lifelike? And then you just start to describe the attributes. And then you start slowly incorporating those types of enhancements in your own work. Before you know it, you are producing very similar looking babies. I'm going to go ahead and shade in her arm creases and wrinkles. And I'm going to shade in between her fingers just a little. Also going to pull a little bit of thicker paint and just go ahead and put it up in that little pale area that I don't like. And then I'm going to smooth it over the knuckle. And I have a little teeny itty bitty blue dot there. Which is okay, it'll add depth, but I just want to take it down just a little bit. So that is just about perfect. And then I'm going to take this red. I'm going to overlay it. So if you can see, her little palm already looks much more soft and squishy. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing on the palm of this hand. Okay, so that's pretty much what we have now. And then I'm gonna just go over the creases in the legs and the ankles again. Adding a little more depth. So it really looks like that skin's been pressed together repetitively as they are. I'm going to line the toes again. So her eyelids have flashed off to be just a tad too red for what I like. So, just going to put some plain thinner on there. And that's going to help to thin out that paint a little bit. It's going to take it right back out to that nice balanced purpley hue with a little bit of red. So that's what I've done. So then she's all ready to go back in for another bake. I will probably bake her twice this time, which is what I do with that is I bake one time, level 6, 8 minutes. I let it cool to where it's comfortable to touch, and then I will bake it again for 8 minutes on level 6. This helps the Genesis to cure all the way. And this is of course before any sealer or anything like that is added. I've already baked this little girl several times, but you know what? I'm wondering if any of her paint wants to lighten up. going to be doing her painted hair probably this weekend. So basically I'm just cleaning the vinyl, and if anything, which nothing's coming off, but if anything did want to come off, it wasn't quite sealed, then you would know, because it would be coming off on your sponge. And that would be an alert that she needed to be baked again, and she needed to be sealed. I have not gotten any pink off of her. So usually for a doll that I'm going to paint the hair, once I start to paint the hair, I'm going to paint the hair and the eyebrows at the same time. I'm going to bake those and do them in layers. Once I get them to the final layer where I'm satisfied with how the hair looks and I'm satisfied with the eyebrows, then I'm going to bake it twice to seal it, to make sure that that paint's not going to go anywhere. And then when she comes out of the oven and I'm able to touch her comfortably, then what I'm going to do is, while she's warm, that's when I'm going to root her eyelashes. Because of this, particularly this Sculpt and some of the others like it, are so thick. It's very tedious work to root. So that's the plan for this baby. I'm really hoping to have her ready to go home to her mother probably next week. So I'm excited about that. I'm sure she will be too. Once again, I apologize for the quality of this broadcast. I am working on it, so we shall see. I may end up having to get a whole new camera. I hope not, though. This is supposed to be a really good camera, but still it's just a webcam, so how much can you really expect from a webcam? So I'm going to let this go ahead and bake, and I'm going to end the live stream now, and I will be back probably sometime later this afternoon. I do have some errands I have to run and some things to take care of for the next little bit. But thank you for joining me, and if you have any questions, as always, you can email me at littleblessingsboutiquedolls@outlook.com. Thanks, and have a blessed day.